Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Explicit Materia, the podcast where a nerdy drummer talks to his friends. Man, it feels like it's been forever since I've done a normal version of this podcast, but here we are. We're back, and let's just do this thing. Of course, as always, you can always follow me on Twitter at the WiseDrums, Instagram at WiseDrums, Facebook WiseDrums, or Explicit Materia. And don't forget to subscribe to youtube.com/WiseDrums, where I post video clips of this podcast and other stuff like my new Power Rangers drum cover and my Game of Thrones appreciation video, where I try to figure out which video game reminds me most of Game of Thrones. So please check that stuff out, like it, subscribe, comment, engage. It really helps everything that I'm doing here and putting out the content and help grow my brand. Do I have a brand? Is that a thing? I don't know. Well, it just helps things grow. All right, so just do all that stuff if you like what I'm doing here. Anyway, as always, if you are easily offended by any controversial, satirical, or seemingly offensive material, please get to stepping. This podcast ain't for you. Any disagreements you might have with the points presented, I'd love to hear what you have to say via Twitter or the YouTube comment section. Or you can just stew in your own hate. That's fine. God, I'm just batting 100 today. My guest today is Quentin Malone. He's a writer, and you know what? He just lights up any room he's in. He's just all smiles, and we always have these really interesting, life-altering conversations every time we get together. So I was like, you know what? You'd be perfect to do a podcast with. So here we are, and he did not disappoint. We had a great conversation about comic books, technology, his life, stand-up comedy, all sorts of stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, wait no further. Here's Quentin Malone. It's been a while. It has been a while. But Quentin Malone is on the podcast. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. And also, this is now my podcast. Welcome to the Quentin Malone podcast.
He's come to take over, ladies and gentlemen. And man, I will say, it's funny. If those of you who are actually just listening and not watching, Quentin has this. I don't know, like this energy, like you have this positive vibe. Like you walk into a room and it's like, I don't have a bad day anymore. This is a good day. This is going to be a good day.
That's always nice to hear. Yeah.
You have a very good energy. I see it's very yellow and just green.
Just glowing and flowing.
Glowing and flowing. So what's up? So what's new with you? What do you want to get off your chest today?
I've recently been venturing into, writing. It's something I've done this for a while, but now it's starting to get into something serious. I'm starting to get clients now. I'm doing this thing where I'll write scripts for people who are, wanting to get their name out as actors, and then
really?
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, write scripts, and then I'll film it out for them, and they'll post it on their social media and stuff. Just to get their name out there as actors, and this is something to get my name out there as a writer.
Dude, that's super cool. Anything in particular? Like, is there something that you're really proud of recently?
Well, actually,
are you just starting to get into it?
I've just started it. Actually, I had I've written my first script for my first client and sent it into them. They loved it. We're going to tweak it a little bit before I actually get any head work on it, but so far it's looking good.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. So how do you do your writing? Do you do it on your phone? Do you do it on a computer, laptop?
I'll just do
whatever.
It off of everything.
Yeah.
Just as soon as I get an idea, what's closest is what's getting written on.
Yeah. So I've been dabbling. I'm not a writer in the least, but I do.
We're adults.
We're adults here, ladies and gentlemen. I started writing video game reviews and stuff for my YouTube channel, and it's so funny because I don't want to like toot my own horn here, but like there are moments where you write something and you're like, and you didn't know you had it in you, but just the act of writing makes you better at writing.
Yeah, you'll have those moments just like Because I'll just
Hush.
like work on different types of scripts or just write, poems and stories. And I'll write something out and I'll be like, you did that. You just wrote that. Like, congratulations. Pat on the back. Somebody give me a medal. Where's my Emmy?
Right.
At least the daytime Emmy. Just something. Give me.
So is it like comedy that you write, or is it serious?
It's just a mix of everything. I'm just, diving in headfirst to all of it. I'm looking into, I look into different styles of writing. Like all of my favorite directors, I'll just kind of try to like watch their movies like critically, just like that whole English teacher vibe. Like, what does he mean by this?
What does it all mean?
Yes.
Why would
when
he
he
write
said
that?
the shoes were red, what did he really mean?
It's a political commentary on the society we currently live in.
Yeah. When he says he can't breathe, what is that?
Does he really can't breathe, or is he strangled by the grasp of, I don't know.
It's a symbolism of the man constricting us.
Right, exactly.
But no, it's just I try to look for the meaning behind everything, so that whenever I write, there's somewhat of meaning behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the whole point of writing, really.
Yeah.
When I would like, because I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was having a conversation about writing comedy with somebody, and man, that would be like, I think about that every now and then. Like, how crazy would it be to be a comedian, like a stand-up comedian? You have to write a joke. Yeah. And then you think it's funny. You think it's hilarious.
I think that's what makes comedy the hardest thing to do. Like, it'd be so, I don't want to say it's easy, but I feel like it's easier to be like, write drama or just action, because, you're just writing just straight up, you're just writing a plot point.
Yeah, it's something that you can peel layers behind. But comedy...
Yeah, but comedy, it's all subjective. Because, like, something that's maybe funny to you might be super offensive to somebody else.
Right. And but the whole point of comedy is sort of to offend somebody.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean...
That is true.
Unless you're a clean comic, which, you definitely... There are clean comics that are hilarious.
Yeah.
Jim Gaffigan's one. He's not really... that dirty of a comic, but he's just hilarious every time he speaks.
Yeah, just like the real mild-mannered, tame comedians like Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Like, they're not really, stepping on any toes, but it's still hilarious. But it seems like the people that you like the most are always going to be the, like, more vulgar ones.
Yeah. Well, the ones that shock you, like, oh, did he just say that?
Yeah. Just
he just went and said it.
And we're fine with this? Like, I mean, I laughed a little bit, but I don't feel good about it.
But that's why I like it. No.
It's like we're all just terrible people, and he's just getting paid off of it.
Could you imagine bombing on a stage? Could you imagine, like, you tell a joke that you think is so funny? I've
done it before.
Have you done stand-up before?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I've dabbled in stand-up a little bit, and it's tough. It's tough. It's so tough.
What's that like?
You have, from my experience, I was super confident up until the time I had to actually do it. And then I was up there like, what's going on, people? How you doing? What was the joke?
It just kind of went blank. Was that like your first time?
Yeah, it was my first time. I've only done it like 3 times.
What made you want to do it in the first place? You're like, I can do this.
Yeah, it was kind of just like...
Or was it like your friends, you're hanging out with your buddies and everyone's drunk and you're like, you know what, man? You can go up on stage, right? And it's open mic night. And you're like, you go, put your name in the hat. Go for it. Actually, you think it's a great idea.
The first time I actually did it was whenever I was going up to Tech, the fraternity I was in, we participate in philanthropy events for, sororities. They'll have something going on, to benefit, different organizations. Mm-hmm. And one of their philanthropy events was like stand-up comedy. And I I was like, that might be fun. But they were like, you're doing it. I'm like, what? He's like, no, you're doing it. I'm like, all right, let's give this a try. And I was super excited for it. And then right when I got on that stage, I was like, so hi, how are you doing today?
Do you remember any of your material?
I remember something. It was, all right, so one of the jokes I told was, it was a story that I told that, I tell this story thousands of times, but it was about whenever I was younger and I thought I found Santa Claus. And it was, this is kind of, so I was about 6, 7 years old or so. And me and my mom, we go to the market and, we're walking around the store shopping. All of a sudden, this big biker dude with the huge white beard and long white hair walks in, and my eyes are just like super wide. I'm like, I know who that is.
He's in disguise, but he's not doing a very good job.
I'm like, you can't hide from me, because like the Christmas before that, I don't know what it is that I saw, but I looked up in the clouds and saw the outline of a sleigh, and I was like, I will find this man. Like, it was my life mission. And so we're in the store. He walks in. I'm just like staring him down the whole time. Like, I'm hiding behind the aisles, just like spying on this man. I'm like, I just found Santa and I'm going to prove it. Like, so I'm just following him. I'm like taking mental pictures, like, what does Santa like? It's like, oh, he really likes Bud Light. All right. It's hilarious because he walks off. I go down the aisle, grab a case, bring it back to my mom. Santa likes these. She was like, what are you doing with that? She's like, you put that back right now. I'm like, but Santa. She's like, I don't care. So we're going throughout the store, still following. And I just kind of lose track of them and forget. Well, it's about time we're leaving. We're in the checkout line. And guess who's in front of us?
Santa
Claus. So I was like, I just got to ask. It's eating me up. So I go up to the man, tap on his shoulder. Excuse me, sir. Are you Santa Claus?
That's adorable.
And it's funny because I feel like that man has heard that a lot, because immediately he's like, ugh. He's like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not Santa Claus.
Aww.
And I'm like, liar.
Yeah.
Just kind of like sneak back away. And my mom, she's so embarrassed. She's like, oh my God, sorry. And I'm just like, man, whatever. I know it's you. My mom, she's just trying to like keep me away. And he's like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. I understand. Well, we're standing in line and this man walks up behind us and he has one arm. And so I'm just intrigued about that. So I asked him what happens. He's telling me like, oh, it happened when he was younger. He had his arm out the window and it, just got cut off. And I was like, well, you know what? Santa's right there. You can ask him for another one. And my mom she was like, all right, we're leaving. We're leaving. That's it. We're done.
God.
Nope. That's it.
That's it. There's too much today. I can't parent this.
Yes.
I can't.
And I received a grown man beating after that. And then now I don't like Santa.
Now, every time you see Santa Claus, you're traumatized for life.
I get Vietnam flashbacks every time I see a mall Santa.
I just picture like he has a biker cut, like he's from a motorcycle club, and it's just, it's got MC, and freaking
MC North Pole.
Yeah, MC North Pole. That's right. He's got the 8 reindeers on the back. He's tattooed, like.
Got Mrs. Claus tattooed right on the shoulder.
Man, I wish he would have had fun with you. If I was him, I would have had fun. It was like, well, you don't tell anybody, but this is my disguise. This is how I keep track of all the naughty and nice girls and boys.
I figured from the way he said that he was probably asked that a lot.
He's just, I'm done. I've been asked 7 times already today.
He's like, I'm not even a mall Santa. Like, this is, I don't even parade around this.
Well,
Like,
it's good to know that he can fall back on that if the alcoholism takes over his life.
Yeah, if he's in need of some extra cash, just
he can always fall back on being a mall
like,
Santa.
hey, just give me a suit. Just give me. You don't even got to give me a suit. I got just red tracksuit. I can just show up, be a half-ass Santa.
Yeah,
ruin kids' dreams.
You said you mentioned before that you were in a fraternity, and I find that fascinating because I was never in a fraternity, and you see in popular culture very negative things about fraternities, and
it's
from the things you're telling me, and you've mentioned the philanthropy work before, and I'm like, well, that's really freaking cool. And then it made me think, was like, have we been lied to this entire time that fraternities aren't just filled with, just idiot dudes drinking all day, getting themselves into trouble?
That part's not a lie, but it's just,
but in a negative way.
It's not. So it's the fraternities, they do love their partying, but what's shown is always going to be the negative stuff. Like, and it's mostly because of the schools, because a lot of schools are kind of against, the Greek life. Like, I know there have been a couple of bills passed. I think there was a recent bill passed that was saying that sororities are not allowed to endorse fraternities. And I know there's several schools that are looking into getting rid of their Greek life. And like, yeah, these kids, they party, they have fun, but not all of them, are just 24/7, slamming beers, let's get some chicks, just like going out. Like, no, it's not all like that. Well, you'll have those guys in there, but you'll have those guys at every college.
Right. Regardless. Well, you're dealing with young, children. You're dealing with children. You're dealing with young people who, are experiencing life for the first time, and mistakes will be made.
Yeah.
That's ask anybody. But like, even if you didn't go to a fraternity, I never went to a fraternity. I made mistakes.
Oh yeah, that's
I did some stupid shit. We almost burned down the house this one time. Yeah, we watched a YouTube video. This was when YouTube first started. It was like 2008, 2007, 2000, right around there. And we watched this video on how to make a fireball out of cloth and floss. So what you do is you get a t-shirt cloth. You cut out a t-shirt, roll it up into a little ball, tie it with some string, and then you fill it with lighter fluid. To make the ball filled with lighter fluid.
Yeah, what's a fireball without lighter fluid?
You set the ball on fire, and what made this video super interesting was he would light the ball on fire in his hand, and he would roll it in his hand without getting burned. So the idea is it's the same thing of like walking on hot coals.
Yeah.
Like if you just walk through it in a normal brisk pace, you get by without getting burned. But if you're all super slow about it, you're gonna get burned. So we were like, yeah, let's do that. And this is still on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, I looked that up.
It's called Fireball.
Such aptly named.
Yeah, and so we did it with a small little ball, and we're doing it inside. We did it inside, then we took it out in the porch. And, there's just like 7 of us or something, and we're all like rolling this fireball, and then we start passing it to each other, because why the hell not?
I was about to say, like, that sounds like you guys are setting up for a great game of hot potato.
And it basically was. So, like, we're passing this around each other, and, it would fall, and we're like, oh my gosh, it fell. And like, oh, and then it went out, and we're like, oh, that was fun. Let's make a bigger one.
Because why not?
Because, we're invincible. We're 20. We're 22. We can do whatever we want.
Life insurance policies are great right now.
Right.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, and so we make an even bigger one. And I swear, it was the size of it was about the size of a baseball. It was huge. And we light it on fire. Oh, let's add this also, too. I forgot to say. There was this gentleman, he'd been on the podcast before, named Nettie. And in the video, the whole point of the whole video is that he
denies that it's ever going to work. He's like, this is not going to work. You guys are idiots. Like, you just naysaying the whole time. And so we called him we've called him from then on Nettie the naysayer, because it did work. So anyway,
Take that, Nettie.
So we have this giant freaking ball of fire, and then we start passing that around to each other.
Because why not?
And then it falls off the porch into the bushes, and we're like, immediately you can hear in the video, we're all like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, no more laughs. We're like, we're going to burn the fucking house down.
Panic mode. Anybody know any volunteer firefighters around here?
And so it's like burning down, and the porch is like elevated, so it's a second floor porch. So we have to run around the house, because if we jump down, we'll break our legs. So so we're waiting for someone to come around. Meanwhile, another friend is like, I'm going to put it out with water. Yeah, great idea. So he gets some water, it's like a water jug, whatever, and he pours it, he tries to pour it over the porch onto the fire, and misses completely. And this is all caught on tape. It's like a big clusterfuck of just young idiot kids. Yeah. So anyway, that was a little divergence in what we were talking about.
Dumb in general.
But yeah, I mean, you don't need to be in a fraternity to do stupid shit like that.
Oh no, not at all.
Did you have like an initiation ceremony or something? Yeah. Was it like, you must eat this?
Nah,
it's blindfolded, and it's a...
I mean, it's nothing like that. We never did anything. The movies really make it seem worse than it is. Like, we're not...
Yeah, in the movies, they like show like borderline illegal stuff.
Yeah, like they're not gonna like lock us in a room and make us fuck a goat. Like, that's... like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like, you're not gonna be like handcuffed to a bed while grown men spank you. Like, that's... It's... Like, they don't do anything like that. They're... Like, a lot of fraternities have cracked down on being anti-hazing, so they...
Yeah.
So it's...
I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah. And it's... Well, a lot of them say anti, but I mean, we still have our things, but it's nothing bad.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a son, I wouldn't mind sending him through that, knowing what it's like.
It's just like, kind of like pranks.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really just more, pranks.
But also, too, it's like, I could imagine that you could get, like, this feeling of camaraderie, of, like, always being with a group of
100%.
Like-minded individuals.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I can't tell you how many times that, I've been stuck somewhere and just called somebody up randomly. Like, oh, yeah, sure, I got you. Like, it's, like, so many times it's happened, and vice versa, where... I'll just be in my room hanging out, and then somebody's like, hey, I am at a bar right now, and I am wasted. Could you send somebody to get me? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, we'll be there.
See? Good stories.
Yeah.
Take that, News 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to personally endorse all fraternities. It's fine. But no, it's just, like, you're never going to be shown all the good things that they do. Like,
no, that doesn't get clicks, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
We want the bad things.
Yeah, because the bad things at the same time sound a little fun, but no.
Well, it's a human thing. Like, we're always inclined to focus on negative things. It's an evolutionary thing, because if you think about it, the negative things are what kill you. That
is very true.
Over time, evolutionarily, we've attuned our brains to negative things. Like, wait a minute. It's like, I want to know, like, who, like, the first caveman who stumbled upon a lion. I bet a group of them, right? And then there's the one guy that goes over to the lion. And he's like, what is this? What is this?
It's like, hey, why is this guy covered with fur and standing on all of his arms?
Yeah, and so Argvorg goes over there.
Great caveman name.
Argvorg.
Argvorg and his brother Uck.
Goes over there, and he gets eaten by the lion. And then therefore they're like, okay, we're going to tell the group to stay away from that four-legged man creature. I feel like
there was at least one caveman in the group that was like, that's metal.
So metal.
So metal. Me think that cool.
Did, yeah. You're also into history. You took history in college, didn't you?
Yes, I did. That was actually my major.
Right on. What is your favorite, what's the era that you're most interested in, that you think you find the most fascinating?
Definitely the 80s.
For sure.
Just I only really like I mainly like the 80s, just for the culture of it, because it was a lot of things revolutionary happened during the 80s. Like, I'm pretty sure like computers were starting to move towards what they are now back in the 80s. Like, it wasn't just like, just a big room filled with a bunch of circuit boards that like only the military had access to. Music was starting to evolve a bit more. It was just, and it just seemed like a fun time.
Have you watched CNN's The 80s?
I haven't.
Oh, dude, those are great documentaries. They have the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. And man, they're great documentaries, and they go through the whole decade, and they just sort of like the computer. They're different. It's episodic, so it's like. One's about the age of computers, and they essentially like the beginning of the internet, essentially. And I think the microchip was developed in the 80s, and then with the invention of the microchip, they can make things a lot smaller, make things a lot smaller, and make things a lot smaller. And then there was and
then boom, cell phone.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like Microsoft's story is insane.
Oh yeah, a lot of these huge tech companies, they hit their stride in the 80s.
Yeah. And you had am I getting the decades wrong? Because was it the 80s or the 90s that Microsoft was like developing apps for everybody? And
that was probably the 90s.
Okay.
But I know
developing operating systems, sorry. Because no one like believed in operating systems at that time. Everyone was like, ooh, flashy computers. Yeah. And it was and they were the only company that really focused on operating systems, and before you know it, they're like this $1 billion company.
Yeah, a lot of the tech companies were just kind of like, this is just an information processor. Right. You're welcome.
Right, and like, very hard to use. You had to like literally code. You had to know how to code zeros and ones.
You had to be a hacker. Like, everybody in the 80s were hackers. That's why all the hacker movies back then were just great.
Yeah. And then here comes Apple II. Boom.
Yep. Just here you go. This is for the everyman.
Yeah.
That will never work.
Yeah.
Said everyone in the 80s who are now regretting that.
Yeah, but the tech boom in the 80s, man, that's a really fascinating. You should really watch that. It's on Netflix, so you can watch all the decades. The 60s, which was crazy. The 70s, which were crazy. Yeah. The 80s, which is crazy in a whole other way.
It's funny. I always ask my dad about it because, he was born in 69, so he was a teenager through the 80s. And, like, I
would love to be a teenager in the 80s. I would have loved
Same. That would have been fun.
Dude.
That would have been interesting, like, around this area.
Well, yeah, it's like, you're right. It's like music started to really sort of evolve into, well, number one, synthesizers became a huge thing.
Oh, that was it's like every band in the 80s was like, hey man, have you heard of synthesizers? No, what's that?
Check it out, man.
It's like computer music, man.
I can sample anything. Check this out. Like all these different noises. And like, dude, we can do this all day.
It's like, let's just make a song out of it. All of them.
It's really interesting to hear like funk music, because it's like, I love 80s funk music, but it's interesting to listen to like 70s funk music and then 80s funk music. It's almost as if they didn't really know what to do with a synthesizer.
Yeah. It's like there's like, just throw it on everything. Everything? Yeah, everything. It's like, you sure about that, man? Because I got a little saxophone we can throw. No, just everything. Everything synthesized. We got to hop on this synthesizer wave.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want funk to die? Synthesizer.
Do you want funk to die?
Just synthesizer.
Funk never dies.
Funk never dies. Well, my name ain't PJ Swiggly.
PJ Swiggly. Bootsy Collins.
Bootsy Collins. I love watching Bootsy Collins videos.
Oh, Bootsy, man. He's a character, that one.
Greatest funk man ever.
I mean,
the funkiest of fellas.
I mean, I gotta tip my hat.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, I love watching those those documentaries, the CNN documentaries are great. Like the 60s one, it's insane. When you watch those documentaries, especially in a documentary that's talking about the entire decade, and you watch it and you're like, I was, you and I weren't born in that time period, and you watch it and you're like, what a scary time to live.
It's like, that happened? That's kind of...
And you watch it and you're just like, that isn't... How did we not tear each other apart?
It's like, can you not tweet about it? Like, what's up?
I know,
what's
no one
going on?
had cell phones. Crime was at an all-time high. We were in Vietnam. The civil rights era. Just like all sorts of just horrible things.
It was complete anarchy.
Really, really, if you think in comparative to today, it's like, you'll see your protests every now and then, but like compared to the 60s, like
every day was just
man.
like that movie, The Warriors. Just
Right.
every day was.
Every day, protests were in the hundreds of thousands of people. Like the Vietnam protests that happened, the civil rights protests.
Yeah, they had like the military breaking up protests. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, the American government is using their military on the American people. Like, that's...
Yeah, they didn't even call the SWAT team. They're like, this problem's too much. We need to bring in the Humvees.
I forget... I want to say it was General McAllister. I forget, or MacArthur.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I want to say it was MacArthur, but he used to have tanks strolling up and down Pennsylvania Avenue. Outside of the White House, just tanks just cruising through, just keeping the peace.
Jeez, that's scary.
He was scared.
Could you imagine if you saw that today?
That'd be wild. It wouldn't fly. Like,
no.
If that happened today, like, people would think it's the end of the world. Like,
oh yeah, like, people would freak out.
They tweet about it. Somebody would make a bracelet for it. Like, we wouldn't stand for it.
Dude, we freak out over a Starbucks cup. Could you imagine?
Exactly.
We freak out over...
I don't like the way that looks. Nope.
Excuse me, does your lobster bisque have any salt added to it?
See, I can't do that. That's no.
It's just, yeah.
Can I speak with your manager, please?
I had a conversation with an acquaintance, and he was just really being really negative about, just life in general, and he just was going into like, oh, it's the worst time ever, this, that, and the other, and I'm like, can you pull out your phone real quick? And he pulls out his phone. It's an iPhone. And it's like, do you realize that you hold one of the fastest computers that has ever existed?
Yeah, just in your hand.
You can text your mother right now. You could go on Twitter. You could read the news. You could watch YouTube videos. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't discount all horrible things in the world. I'm just saying that
we are way more advanced than we should be. Like, my phone is a far greater piece of technology than anything made before the 90s. Like,
anything made before 2007. Have you ever watched the first iPhone unveiling? It's surreal. And it's groundbreaking too, because you're just watching it, and it still shares like similarities. It's like, how groundbreaking is this piece of technology that came out? It's like, oh, a touch screen that you can touch twice, because that was the big thing at the time. It's like multi-touch. Like, what, you can use both thumbs?
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah. But it's so crazy, because I just kind of remember, like, I remember just like Apple's evolution. From, you got your iPod, and then all of a sudden, you had the iPod mini. Then you have the iPod Touch, and then they turned the Touch into a phone. So now you have the iPhone, and now you have so many different generations of the iPhone, and so many different generations of, iPod Touch, and so many different...
And the iPad.
Yeah, now you got the iPad.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much just half a laptop.
Half a laptop and a big-ass phone.
Yeah. Like, it's so crazy. What you can make phone calls off of your computers now, like this.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's insane the amount of tech. What's even crazier in the next 10 years, they're going to be really, really strange. I watch Unbox Therapy. Do you know who Unbox Therapy is? You watch his YouTube channel?
Yeah,
he just reviews gadgets and stuff like that, the newest, kind of cool things. And he went on this kick for a second of the Samsung Galaxy Fold.
Yeah.
And it's for those that don't know, the screen itself can bend. So it folds in on itself, and then you fold it out, and it's a touch screen. It's a OLED display. It's an OLED display, and it's like a regular phone, but the screen bends. And this, like, in 10 years, a bendy screen.
That's going to be old technology.
I mean, basically, but it's going to be essentially just an iPhone that can bend. And there's so many different companies that are working with this technology. Like there's, they'll bend backwards and they'll fold that way, but there are some issues because with the Samsung Galaxy Fold, there's a little bit of a crease that, with the folding mechanism. But
I heard that was one of the big issues is that like when it folds, there's like magnets in it and they like slam together.
Yeah, it's a super powerful magnet. It's like boom. Yeah, and you're like, you can't do it with one hand. That's how powerful those magnets are. And so these companies are experimenting with it. So I'm very interested to see like what Apple thinks of all this bendy screen stuff.
I don't think they're going to be the first to do it. I think they're
definitely not.
They're going to let somebody else do it and then
fail. Yeah. That's what they always have done.
They let them do it and it fails, or if it doesn't fail, then they're hopping right on that train.
I will say that's what Apple is. Well, that's what, and to a fault actually, because they don't really innovate things anymore. They used to be more innovative with Steve Jobs at the helm, and he told his team to do something, and it was literally impossible. But he said, "No, this has to happen," and he was a dick about it. Let's just be honest. He was an asshole.
Oh yeah, all of those documentaries, all the movies about him, they don't show him in a good light.
No, they do not. No,
but I mean that was him.
But I mean, yeah, but like whether he was, he was the brains, he definitely had a vision, and he made it work, man. You can't fault him. You can't fault him for that.
You really can't. Like he really revolutionized technology.
I mean, he really did. And so
love him or hate him.
Yeah. So and then since his death, they really haven't innovated too much. They've always just been like slight upgrades of the phone before and stuff like that. They just came out with a new tower, a new Mac tower, and it's split the fan base in two. People hate it, and it's super expensive. It's something like $40,000.
Oh yeah,
it's something ridiculous. And the screen, apparently the monitor they're selling is like $3,000, and the stand. This is what's crazy. They marketed the stand. They're like, you can get this stand for the monitor for $1,000.
I will punch them in the face.
I mean, like, the world, the internet exploded when they did that. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Just that you want me to buy an eye stand for $1,000? Like, I can think of so many more things.
I'm pretty positive that NASA parts aren't that expensive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can build a spaceship for $1,000.
So like, I feel like they're starting to lose touch a little bit. Thinking that they can sell, like, I'd be very interested. I wonder when I can't remember when it's going to come out. I'm very interested to see if people are actually going to buy it. Because I think what Apple does is they rely on their strong fan base to just buy their stuff no matter what. And to be fair, there are quite a few fanboys. But, I think it was just this last year that their phones worldwide were beat out by a Chinese company called Huawei. And right now there's like some political battle going on between Huawei. Apparently they're banned from selling parts here in the United States because of the whole like tariff thing that's going on. But anyway, like that company like was beating Apple hand over fist.
Man.
And that I think it was the first time that ever happened. And so it's a growing problem for Apple that I really hope that they're keeping their eyes on. And at the same time, it's a good thing because we need competition.
Because
otherwise
it seems like they're showing all the signs of monopolizing.
Yeah, well, they're getting too big. It's what every company goes through. Amazon's going to go through it right now. Soon, they're going to go through it soon, because they're starting to just become this huge thing.
I think Amazon's problem is it seems like they're trying to compete with Elon Musk's. Like every idea that he has, it's like, well, hey, I could do that too.
Yeah. Well, they got the money for it. I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, Amazon is an awesome service. I gotta be honest.
I'm not gonna knock that. Yeah.
I mean, you pay like $100 a year, and you get free shipping on anything. And then you're like, all right. And then on top of that, you get this, video service that's pretty decent. We're watching True Blood on it. Oh my God. Yes, that's right. We're watching True Blood again. I don't know, because my wife started watching it just to have in the background, but then I started watching it, and then we started watching it together, and like, oh, here we go. Now we have to watch this. Now we have to finish this through. I never finished it. I stopped after like season 4. I thought at this point it got a little too Power Rangers-y.
Yeah, I watched it for a little bit. I never finished it either, and it seemed like it was just doing too much, and I was kind of like, nah, I don't think I like this. No.
Well, it's like the first couple seasons were really interesting because it's like a way over the top vampires, but there's also shifters, and then werewolves come into and then they bring in fairies, and then they bring it like in the vampire hierarchy. So it's over the top, but with decent acting and beautiful people. Like every single person in that show is beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Like,
if you're not a 10, you cannot be here.
Apparently, I mean, seriously, like every single one. Dude, yeah, but we're powering through it. At least she's finished it before. I haven't watched all the seasons. But
I should pick it back up.
I just want to see where it ends.
Yeah,
I just need to
see where they go with it. Just see what all this build up was for, because
I mean, Lafayette is like my favorite character. Like, he's the best. Like every scene he's in, I'm like, I'm invested.
Hands down.
Hands down. Like, what sort of witty remark is he gonna come back with? Bitch. Like,
just bitch.
I know. He just like to shut people up. He closes his hands in their face. I was like, yes, thank you. This guy's great. And but yeah, and then after that, I don't know what show we're running out of shows to watch.
So I need more shows to watch, because it seems like the only thing that I'm getting, only thing I'm being recommended is like animes, and
dude, I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist again.
It's great anime.
I mean, it's great. It's so good.
Full Metal and Brotherhood, just great animes done really well.
Yeah. And it tackles so many like
it's
philosophical and also political, but like philosophical things. Like I just watched it was this fourth episode where they travel to a little village, and they run into a guy named Majahal, and he lost his wife or wife, I think, and he would perform alchemy to try and bring her back to life, using little girls as a soul mechanism to like transform her, and so it wouldn't work. She wouldn't be able to speak or anything, but it would just be like this walking like zombie, this pretty zombie that would just walk around. And he finds out that his wife never died. His wife has been with him the entire time as like his assistant, and she's grown old. And like that's your love. This is the whole reason why you do this. And then he finds out, and he just doesn't believe it. He doesn't want to believe in it. And it's just crazy to think like that's fucked up.
Yeah, like you're going so far to get her, and she's there, and now you can't accept it. There's a lot of that happens in that anime. Like, it's definitely got some moments that tug at my heart.
Yeah, right?
Like, I'll never forget with the little girl and the
I
dog.
stopped watching anime for a second because it was getting dark. Like, it gets like, there's certain animes that you watch and you're like, I don't feel right inside.
Yeah, it gets rough.
Have you ever watched Berserk?
I haven't watched that yet.
All right,
but I've
so
wanted to.
Berserk is like an ongoing manga. It's been going on for years, apparently. Yeah. And they did a series, like a one or two series. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but like 1 or 2 seasons, something like that. And it's one of those animes that just ends abruptly. that they never pick up ever again. And it's just like the worst ending ever. Like everyone's dead. There's no hope for humanity. And then you're just like, really? This is how it ends?
It's kind of like, I hate but also love when animes do that because like, yeah, this looks kind of shitty. Tune in next time. Like, what? Hold on.
But it's not even tune in next time. It's like, and this is the end.
Like, so pretty much the basis of this anime is life sucks. How's it going to end? Sucky.
Yeah, there's no hope. There's no hope for you. There's no hope for so there's a moment where I just like kind of just like I gotta watch something happy and fun.
Yeah, that's like I definitely get those moments where I'm just watching something and I was like, this doesn't make me feel good. I need to watch. This is like I need to watch a children's show or something.
I need to watch Sesame Street.
Just give me something happy. I want to learn about shapes and numbers, please.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah. Just watch an episode of Attack on Titan. And you're like, oh, I gotta.
Oh, dude, that's super dark.
Yes.
There is some. Oh man, you want to talk about intense?
Yeah.
That's. I still haven't seen season 2. And come on, people.
You need to catch up. With
I know. I need to catch up. Here's the deal, and my fellow anime friends are gonna hate me for saying this, but it's this who I am, and I got to be happy with me.
Yeah,
I like watching anime dubbed. I don't particularly enjoy watching anime just subtitled.
I agree with you.
That is blasphemy to a lot of people. That is really utter blasphemy.
It really is, but like I don't mind watching it subbed, but I prefer watching it dubbed because I don't speak Japanese.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
And it's like
crazy American teenager. Well,
and then
older than
you
a teenager,
get the criticism like, well, you're not watching it the way it was supposed to be. Like the Japanese language is romantic and this, that, and the other. And like, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I don't like reading when I'm watching a show or a movie. I'm sorry. I don't want to read.
Yeah,
if I want to read, I will read.
Yeah. If I wanted to read it, I would have bought the manga.
And I'm really fascinated with voice acting, and I really appreciate really good voice actors who like put a lot of effort into, it's like a dumb little nerdy little anime. Yeah. When you hear actors that are really into it, you're like, oh man, yes, I appreciate this. And you know how hard it is because like the anime mouths, they don't necessarily move like, regular animated mouths. They're just kind of open and close, open and close. And as a voice actor, you have to speak in the American language and fit an idea in another language. And you have to fit that whole thing in a time.
You the same emotions and like the same intensity that it was originally meant for. And you got to try to match that. And it's tough. I can understand that. Like,
and I think again, like Full Metal Alchemist, I think is one of the best dubbed TV shows. Animes. The lead actor, I forget what his name is. He's been in like a bunch of things and video games and stuff like that. But he is Edward Elric. Like, I'm sorry. Like the original Japanese actor, he can be Edward as well. But I'm just saying, as like he took on that role and he nailed it.
Yeah, it's good.
And I like stuff like that.
Yeah, like when it's done well, then you'll appreciate it more. Like Dragon Ball dubbed, it's done it's done well. And like Dragon Ball, it's not the best of animes. Like it's usually a lot of people's first, but it's not the best. But it's
definitely one of the most revered. It's like when no one like hates Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you'll get your haters here and there, but like most anime fans have an appreciation for Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, because they know it's one of the bigger ones that will usually get people into anime.
Yeah, like
that, Naruto, Bleach, like those are ones that will draw people in because those are the ones that were, I don't want to say Americanized, but they were
more family friendly.
Yeah, they were the ones that were. Those are the ones that you would catch on like Cartoon Network or something like that. Like you could see them on American television stations.
Right.
Like I know Naruto, that used to be shown on Cartoon Network all the time. That's how I got into anime.
Yeah.
But
Dragon Ball Z is such a silly anime. It
really is.
It's just
the original Dragon Ball. That's really silly.
Yeah, I never watched the original Dragon Ball. I was like Dragon Ball Z on. It was like I'm a sucker for transformations. Like,
Yes.
I'm a sucker for
Just
people
over
getting,
the top. Yeah, I'm blonde.
I'm blonde now. Look at that. Now they're blue, and I still haven't watched any of the newer episodes. But
yeah, I feel like Dragon Ball has gone overboard with the transformations.
well, how many like you can't go like what else are you gonna write?
Yeah, I mean,
The whole show is
understand.
based on them going more powerful than the last episode.
yeah, I understand that, but it just seems like it just seems a little too over the top, like, because you got your Super Saiyan forms, and then you go to like Super Saiyan God, and then you got Super Saiyan Blue, and then Goku has Super Saiyan Blue mixed with Kaioken, and then Vegeta just got Super Saiyan. I think they call it Royal Blue, but it's just even more blue than it was before.
Have you ever watched the Dragon Ball Z actors like in the studio doing their thing?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos of them doing it, and
It's really fascinating because the God's voice actors. Yes. No, that's not it. Hang
I
on.
always love watching the videos of
Oh yes,
the voice actors singing the theme songs.
Oh yes, here we go. This is good.
All right, fine. Let's see how you do at this speed. How's that? Taking me seriously now? You're about to find out.
There's so much yelling.
Yeah.
There's so much yelling.
These are notes for good animes. Just a lot of yelling, transformations.
Yeah.
Boom, you're there.
I mean, their vocal cords.
Tell me we were using class now.
It's just
like,
Game, you're fighting to live.
like that.
like this is my favorite part's coming up here soon. Oh, this one's good too.
I will not let you destroy my world.
And so like that's an American voice actor. And he had to time, I will not let you destroy my world.
Yeah.
He
like
had to time every single syllable in that sentence in the right way to match that big, huge scream.
Yeah, voice
Like,
acting, it's
that's
tough.
talent, man. That
Oh, yeah,
is so
it's-
much talent.
It's tough. Like a lot of people, and back whenever I was going to school, I had a roommate who was interested in doing voice acting, and it's a lot of work. Like it is a lot
A lot of work and a lot of studying too.
Yeah, like it's like, and that's just kind of like,
And if you have it, like you have to, deal with the director too. The
Yeah.
director's like, no, nigga, you think you did a good take, which is like any acting.
like how many times you think he had to yell like, "I will not let you destroy my world"? Like that, he probably did that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he probably did it multiple times. So could you imagine screaming every single take?
That would take a strain. That would take like. I'll drive down the road just like screaming a song because like I'm in the mood, and like by the time I'm out of my car, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
like I sound like I just smoked a pack.
Dude, I was in a metal band when I was 17, and they were like, I wasn't the singer, but I did some like screaming backup vocals, and man, after like one verse, it was just like done. I'm done for the day.
It's like this hurts. Can I stop?
Meanwhile, the singer, that was his whole. He'd sing for he'd scream for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and then he'd be fine.
just I can just imagine young Shane. Just,
Yeah.
Hey, can I stop? This kind of hurts.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Shane, that's not metal.
Yeah. So I did a little metal back in the Dizay. Yeah. The Dizay, and then like I still find that there are mechanisms in how you can scream without destroying your voice.
Yeah,
They have like vocal coaches now that will tell you how to use your your diaphragm and stuff like that. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, there's techniques for everything that you can do to, just ease it. But yeah, it's a lot more than just, setting up a microphone and, hello, this is my voice, this is what I'm doing. Just like voice acting is just as tough as acting. Like, you gotta portray. I'd argue that it might be a little bit harder because you gotta just portray all that emotion in your voice.
Yeah.
Like, in acting, you can just like put it on your face, just show anger and like anguish and like talk, and like you see their face, like, oh, this is the emotion they're trying to portray.
Yeah. Even when I do like voiceovers for my video game reviews, like I feel like I'm putting in enough emotion to get the point across, and then I'll listen back to it and like, I sound like I'm monotone. What the hell? But I realize I'm not using my mouth to, put the emotion across. I'm actually using my hands, I'm using my face, I'm using my body language, but that doesn't get portrayed into a microphone.
Yeah, and I'll see that a lot whenever like I'm talking on the phone. Like, I know that's like a different situation, but you're talking on the phone, you get in an argument with someone, you're just like, well, it's just a lot of hand movement.
Yeah.
But like your voice is just kind of like the same way, and it's just it's hard to really just portray emotion in your voice alone.
Yeah, it's even harder to do that through text. You ever had a text argument with somebody?
Yeah.
It's like, damn it. Like, thank God for emojis, I guess. But even then, it's like, even...
It seems like almost like... What's the word I'm looking for? It seems like they're almost like ironically sent. Like, oh, I'm so upset with you, angry face. Like, it reminds me of this like video I saw where this girl, it was just like a video of her like texting her friend like, OMG, this is so funny, bitch, I'm screaming. But like, she's just so stone faced the whole time, just like sending a fuck ton of laughing emojis like, girl, this is so hilarious. Just,
LOL funny. This is
LOL
hilarious.
funny face. Just it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, man. Do you think? Okay, so we have texting. I thought about this the other day. Like our parents didn't go through that. We have parents that still prefer to talk on the phone. Because that was their preferred, that was their only method of communication, which was groundbreaking at the time. You can call anybody at any time. This is insane. But now we have
You mean
text.
I don't need a carrier pigeon?
How does that work? Do you know, student of history, how did carrier pigeons work? Me and the wife, we were talking about that the other day. It's like, how did they even know?
I'm not sure myself. I saw something about it, but I forgot about it because it was just so small. But it was just like, I think they just kind of trained them on a fixed path. It's like, I think it's something that they just trained them to do.
I don't. It's crazy. But anyway, so I was thinking about this the other day. Is texting, because we mainly text as a form of our preferred motive of communication. Preferred mode of communication. And what will replace that? Is the next step telepathy of some sort? Like,
I don't know if it'll go that far, but I mean, it's I don't want to say it's kind of been already replaced, but like voice chat, I know that's a thing. People just like send clips of their voice to each other. And like, I know with the new iPhones, they have the emojis where, it will just capture your face as the emoji. And like, you'll talk through that and just send that to someone. And it'll just be like the emoji talking to them.
I forgot that my phone can do that. I have actually never done that.
I remember, like, I only really remember it because a Twitter page that I saw where they'll have the emojis, but they're like singing songs. That's the only reason I really remember that, because like I've never really seen anyone use it, but I don't know. I think
what is crazy, like the Snapchat filters and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. Like Snapchat, that's kind of taken over for texting. Like I have friends that I'll send them Snapchats with no words, No, it's just a picture, no video, like just no words or anything, and we'll have a full-on conversation just like that. Just looking at the camera like, click.
What does he really mean?
And then he'll still one back like, click. Just, like just zero context, but we're having a full conversation. Like, yeah. I think I think we've already moved away from text. Like there's so many different ways that we communicate without using texting.
Yeah, there's like Twitter, and then there's, Snapchat, and then Insta stories, and it's just crazy. I can't keep up.
Social media is ruining communication.
I mean, it kind of is if you think about it. It's like that's how we do all of our communication. Yeah. And it's like how the biggest argument starts because they're not talking to each other in person or on the phone. Not even on the phone. They're like, if you have a problem with somebody, it's because you read a tweet that was rude.
Yeah, somebody on the internet made me
rude.
angry.
Yeah, and that's why you see a whole bunch of comedians get in trouble on Twitter. Is because they do a joke on Twitter and it gets taken the wrong way because they're not hearing the enunciation of it. There's no cadence in a text.
And that's like how a lot of athletes, they get in trouble for like things that they've tweeted from back in the day, and like people will pull it up. It was like, hey, this was rude and offensive. It's like, well, for one, he sent that when he was like 15.
Yeah.
That
bothers the hell out of me because I'm to all those people who are so offended by a tweet that was done 4 or 5 years ago when they were 15. When they're 15, like, I want you to go back in time to when you were 15, 16, 17. Did you say something offensive, or did you make an off-color joke this one time that you're like, I probably shouldn't have said that?
Yeah, just everybody has those moments. Unless you're Jesus Christ, everybody's had those moments. Just like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But it's like, and they'll take things out of context too. Like, yes, maybe something was said in poor taste, but you don't know what was meant behind it. And
you also miss the chance for people to grow. Like, people grow up.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, even when they're 20, like, I'm a totally different person than I was when I was 20. A lot more wiser, pun intended. And
Lord.
Here's the dad jokes.
All right, podcast over.
Podcast over. But come on, kids are stupid. Let's just put it out there.
Yes,
like,
we are.
We were all dumb, stupid kids. And if you want to jump down the throat of somebody who said something stupid when they were 16, I'm like, man, you are throwing stones from a glass house.
Yeah, if you're like, you can't get mad at a 20-year-old for something he said when he was 12.
Yeah,
like
how far is there no line? Is there like
and
hey, when you were 8, you said doo doo or something?
Yeah.
That is not becoming of you when you're 35, sir.
Like, you remember that old man's house that you used to throw rocks at? You're going to jail now. Like, that's vandalism, and you're an adult, so now you can go to prison.
Yeah, it's like there's no it's like that's the reason why we have juvenile hall. That's why we don't send 16-year-old kids to full-on prison. Well, sometimes we do, but
if it's really bad.
If it's really bad, if you like killed your entire family, we might.
Yeah, you might want to.
Yeah, might need to put you in jail there.
Put them in big boy timeout
forever.
Yeah.
There was a time, actually. Man, it was pretty scary. When I was in elementary school, and a kid that went to that school, his entire family got murdered by the older brother, who was not that much older than him.
Oh,
yeah. It was big news there for a second.
Man.
Yeah, elementary school. It was crazy. That was the first time I ever heard something like that close to home. Really, I didn't know the kid. I mean, it was all over the news at one time.
It's like a story about I don't know how old he was. I think he would have been. I think he was in middle school or something like that. But a house that's right across the street from where I live at, like right down the road, this kid killed his parents and set the house on fire.
Whew.
Yeah, and I drive past that house every day.
Man, I hope those parents did something terrible to that kid. I mean, I'm such a heterodox thinker that I think like that sometimes. I'm like, okay, so either the kid is insane and just has a couple screws loose, or it's possible that he lived in a very abusive house.
Yeah.
It's
either
possible.
situation, you don't want it to be.
You don't want it to be any of that.
Yeah.
But that's what fascinates me about like people who do that. Like, have you ever watched Mindhunter?
I've
It's
seen
on
it a
Netflix.
couple of times.
And it's a dark show because it talks about the invention of the term serial killer, because this is when they were starting to figure out like, oh, these aren't just people that just snap one day. Like there's a process that's involved, and it's really fascinating because you start to get it's a really weird dark dichotomy that you're like, you almost feel sympathy because these serial killers, they just they weren't born serial killers. They were, abused. They were, trauma, like all sorts of things that happen to these kids that eventually they grow up and, do terrible, horrible things.
Yeah. It's so crazy to think about. And it almost feels like, I don't want to say we romanticize serial killers, but.
Oh, we sure do. We do.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you think
do.
like every time there's a school shooting, that's the first thing that's plastered all over the news?
Yeah.
It's like, and they continue. It's so stupid. They continue to put out their names and their picture, and like it was this guy, and this is his background, and this is what he was trying to pull.
They'll give a full story about a man or a child or whoever who, murdered, tens of hundreds of just a bunch of people, and they'll give you his complete story.
Yeah.
And I don't want to,
That's what they want. That's what my thing is. Like, you're giving exactly what they want.
Yeah.
They want, they're at their last leg. They were bullied in school, this, that, and the other, and they want some sort of recognition.
Because this essentially is terrorism.
That's essentially what it is. It's not, terrorism is like more like political, but like, yeah, you're essentially right. They're wanting to prove a point, and you're doing it by like plastering their face everywhere and then continuing to talk about it. Yeah. And but at the same time, it's like, you kind of have to talk about it, because it's like a thing that happened. You want to, but I think like focus, and they do a decent job of like trying to focus more on the families. But again, it's like, it is pretty crazy because the whole saying like time heals all wounds kind of thing. That show, it's not American Horror Story. It's American Crime Story. So it's made by the same people, but they just did I forget his name. It was in the 90s. Hang on, I'm looking it up.
Are you talking about the
assassination of
Versace?
Versace, yes. Yeah. Yes. And that was a strange one for me because when you say romanticize, this kind of romanticized a little bit. It's a fascinating show for sure, but it was all taken from his point of view, the whole show. And so I'm like, it's pretty insane because yes, this happened 20 years ago, and so there's some slight romanticization going on. Yeah. Because you're telling the serial killer's story, and so much so like,
there's a bunch of movies that are about to come out about serial killers. Like there's one that's about to come out about Jeffrey Dahmer.
They just came out with was it Jeffrey Dahmer?
I think
on Netflix.
Actually, I think that was Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's played by what's his face from High School Musical.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron, right? Is that Jeffrey Dahmer or is that? I'm thinking of different. No, that's not Dahmer. That was. Ted Bundy. Thank you.
That I was about to say.
Producer Ashley to the rescue.
Yes. But yeah.
I'm telling you, baby, you need to be my producer. She can produce from the bedroom.
That sounds naughty.
You can just text me. You can just text me the information that we're talking about. But yeah. So there's some there's some romanticizing going on, but at the same time, we're really fascinated. We as human beings who are normal, who don't think like that, will almost look at them like animals. Like
I think that's just like us with everything. How we're so fascinated by the worlds we don't live in.
That's
Like I think that's why like comic books and things like that are so popular because we don't live in those worlds. We don't see that. It's a story that we will never live, that we can just only outside looking in take a look at, and it will always interest us.
Right.
The things we can't touch or see will always
stories. Yeah, stories are very powerful, especially stories where they're sort of metaphysical, because they're blockbuster hits, but there are a reason why they're blockbuster hits, like blockbuster hits like the Avengers. Like there's a reason why the Avengers are so. Not only are they fantastically written and special effects, and they did comic books right for a change.
Yes.
Which is really fascinating to think that they're DC kind of fell off there for a second. They were on They were doing good with the Dark Knight series.
Yeah, the Dark Knight, and then the Man of Steel. That was as much as the Superman story has been told, that was done really well.
See,
I really like Henry Cavill.
I've heard different. I've heard a mixed reaction of the Man of Steel movie.
Well, I liked it.
I did too. I
Henry
enjoyed
Cavill,
it.
he made a good Superman.
Yeah, he made a good Superman. It was a little bit darker, a little bit more adult.
And I think that's what I liked about it is because the Dark Knight series it painted a more edgy Batman story. Which Batman was already edgy, but he's never really been portrayed like that. So far we've seen Michael Keaton, which that was Tim Burton, and
That was really dark.
Yeah, it was dark, but it had a whimsical aspect to it,
like almost like circus, especially the sequel.
Yeah,
the Tim Burton sequel.
And then all the other Batmans never really. It painted him as a crime stopper more so than this vigilante.
Yeah, this tormented soul. You know. Ooh.
Spooky.
As I said, tormented soul. Oh man, I really hope that came across in the recording. That'd be really cool. This tormented soul. Come on. All we were missing is like some lightning flashing.
Just scared face. Just look at the camera.
But that's what makes me excited. But see, I think that's DC's making the right decision in making just. Sort of like throwing paint on a wall with, especially with this whole new Joker movie that's coming out with starring Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
dude, I'm super interested.
I'm excited
in that
for that one. Yeah,
because it's so weird and it's such a weird concept to make a comic book villain.
Yeah, it's interesting because as far as I know, there's never really been, a movie about the Joker or there's no real storytelling about him because he just kind of. In the comics, he's just kind of this guy that comes out of nowhere. There's no background on him. Nothing about him. He's just pretty much there to fuck with Batman. That's his whole thing was you know what? Let's just make his day a little bit difficult. Where's the drugs? Where are the drugs, Batman?
And he scurries away.
You'll never catch me. Just prancing around.
Yeah. You don't really... The Joker story, I never read the comics, and the comic book people are gonna scream at me for this. I'm sure he does have an origin story, but to my knowledge, he has multiple origin stories.
I think the act I think there's origin stories for different versions of the Joker, but I think the original Joker that most people know doesn't have an actual origin.
Right.
Because I don't.
Because in the Tim Burton movies, he was like a gangster.
Yeah.
And then in this new one that's coming out, he's a comedian, which is also pulled from the comics. In the comic books, there's this one where he's a failed comedian. Yeah.
There's also ones that he was he was some sort of scientist and just the chemicals messed him up. Or there's so many different stories about how he became the Joker. But I think the original cut dry Joker that we've all seen and known has no real background.
Yeah. But I think it's kind of cool that way.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know his, why is he
Yeah.
the way he is?
Yeah, it's just
Why does he just live to, to have anarchy?
yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where like you can get a villain who has all of his motives, and you can sympathize with him too. Like, oh yeah, I understand why he's acting this way. Like,
Right.
I probably would too, put in the same situation. And that will just kind of, it makes for a compelling villain. But when you have someone who is just a complete wild card, you know nothing about them, none of their motivations. You just know that they exist in this world and they're here to cause chaos. Like, it's something about that will just kind of make you just see that and just like, oh, so what is he going to do next? Like, who is this guy? What is he doing? Like,
Yeah, that's what made Heath Ledger's Joker so great, is because throughout the entire movie he's always telling you stories that kind of contradictory. Like, which one is true? You don't know. It's a mystery.
Yeah, it's just all over the place. Like, who is this guy? He's like, you want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah, and you're like, how did he get those scars?
You told so many stories. Like, which one of it is true?
I know.
Like,
I mean, like, yeah, man. To this day, man, best Joker. I mean, and that's not just because he died after that. It was just like that portrayal of Joker was like a lunatic, but also intelligent and just.
He had a clear motivation. We just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And he just went about.
What was that
everything.
line? Is like, sometimes it's fun to watch. I just want to see the world burn, or something like that. Or is that what's the saying?
It was something like that. Like, some people live to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Or just
It was Alfred said that.
Yeah.
Some people just like to watch the world burn, Master Wayne.
Which I'm excited for the Alfred movie that's coming out too.
There's an Alfred movie coming out?
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude.
I think it's I forget his last name, but I think it's called like Penny something, or it's comic book people are gonna hate me, but yeah. I forget his last name, but I think the movie is named after that. But it's all about a young Alfred.
You don't know Alfred's story.
Yeah, he's not really. It's funny too, because like he's actually, I think there's comics where he's actually suited up as Batman, and like he's actually been out in the field before in some of the comic stories, and I think they're going to give us like a glimpse of that Alfred. Because it's meant to focus on him like whenever he was younger. I believe he served in the military and.
All right. Well, we're about to end anyway here, because we've been talking for like an hour and a half. Yeah. And I'm afraid that the lightning strike's going to shut down all the equipment, and all of our progress will be lost.
That would be sad.
So I think we should end.
All right.
And soon, sort of abruptly, I guess, but the weather is kind of taking over the podcast. But
have a rain delay.
Thanks for coming by. And,
thanks for having me.
I'll have you on again, and bring your brother. And
he couldn't make it this time. He was working with the school. He works for their newsletter, so
he's going to SAE, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
SAE Institute. Yep, but he says. He actually wanted me to tell you that he really wanted to do a podcast with you, so anytime you're available, he's
all
down.
right, man. Okay, well, toodaloo.
Laters.